Good morning. My name is Charlene Johnson, and my business name, as you can see, is SkyDance Astrology. And I want to thank 1 Million Cups coordinators for inviting me to come talk about this work that I am so passionate about. So why should anybody in this modern-day technological society care about astrology? It's one of the challenges that I've had in establishing my business is actually educating people about the fact that astrology does have merit in today's modern world. The astrologers were the first priests, the first scientists, the first healers, and they were for thousands and thousands of years. So astrology has always been relevant. We've always looked to the heavens for our answers. Carl Jung calls this the collective unconscious, and it's also the basis of archetypes, which is so much a part of astrology. Some of our most brilliant mathematicians, scientists, and astronomers were also astrologers. Galileo, Aristotle, Nostradamus, Sir Isaac Newton, and many, many more. It was just another one of the sciences. Some of our founding fathers were also astrologers. Ben Franklin created the Poor Richard's Almanac, which became the Farmer's Almanac, and it's always been full of astrology. He also established that July 4th should be the day that we sign the Declaration of Independence instead of July 2nd, which other founding fathers wanted, because July 4th was a more appropriate day astrologically. John Pierpont Morgan had a personal astrologer who not only helped him make all of his millions, but she also told him, do not get on the Titanic, and he did not. So the point of all this is that astrology has never gone away, but not everybody accepts it, as you can probably imagine. And so it has been a struggle in my business, in establishing this business. So let me ask you a question. How many people in this room are parents at some point with a brand new little soul and wished that you could have had an owner's manual? How many of you wish you could have had an owner's manual for yourself? Well, guess what? We have one, and it's called the horoscope. This birth chart is every bit as effective as an owner's manual as the one for your car, your computer, or your smartphone. In it, we see all of your potentialities and all of your limitations. And because this is esoteric astrology, we also see purpose behind why you came to Earth in the first place. So let me tell you my story. I was a very shy child growing up, the daughter of an Episcopalian minister, and I had no friends until I went to college. My first friend was my college roommate. When I got out of college, I realized that I wasn't going to make it if I didn't change myself. So I started reading every self-help book I could find, and back in the 70s, there weren't that many. I stumbled on astrology quite by accident, and it was my first aha moment. It was the first time I realized people perceive the world in different ways. People have different filters through which they experience the world. And guess what? We're set up that way. It's very clear in the horoscope. So as long as I knew somebody's sun sign, I already had a great self-help tool to know how to relate to that person. It was a major aha moment for me. I started practicing on anybody who would sit still long enough to give me their birth date, and I also knew that I was going to be using this tool for the rest of my life. I had no intention of becoming a professional. Then in the early 1990s, I met a man named Dr. Douglas Baker, and he is a master of all of the esoteric sciences, and especially the esoteric astrology. And that was my next aha moment. It was the first time I realized how big astrology could be, how all-encompassing. Esoteric astrology is a much more spiritual form of astrology than traditional astrology is. So I studied under him. I earned my degree, and Dr. Baker kept pushing me to go professional because he had no one in America doing it. It was all over Europe, Australia, South Africa, but nobody in America. So in 2000, I hung out my shingle and I began doing readings and reports for folks. But I didn't quit my day job yet. It wasn't until 2015 that I did finally retire from my day job to marry a man who lived in Taos, New Mexico. I moved out there, and then my business, I went into it full-time, and I started teaching classes. In 3 years of trying to live out there, however, I realized I'm too Floridian. I couldn't make it. My skin, my eyes, too dry, so we're back. So just this past year, I've moved back to the area, to Central Florida, and I am now trying to remarket myself here. This very valuable tool of esoteric astrology can tell you so much about yourself. It answers the bigger questions. Where traditional astrology can tell you about your daily life, esoteric astrology tells you about your spiritual life. It's one of the reasons we call it soul's purpose astrology also. This is not foo-foo New Age stuff. This is one of the esoteric sciences. You'll see that there's quite a few esoteric sciences. So this is a very concrete, established science that has been in existence for thousands and thousands of years. This gives you an idea of some of them, but they all work together, but none of them would be as effective if it was not for the fact of esoteric astrology, which is the keystone to all of them. So we need a new astrology because we have so much expanded in consciousness. And how do we do astrology for people who are born on Mars or the moon or in outer space for that matter? So that's why we now are ready. This astrology, these sciences were meant to come out at the beginning of the age of Aquarius. I'm also the caretaker of 12 zodiac stained glass windows created by Dr. Baker in England out of stained glass that's the same stained glass in many of the European cathedrals. When they come together, they form a mandala. So I have recently created a 501c3 to try to raise funds in order to create a permanent home for these windows. And I also want to display them in any appropriate venue. And the last thing is that I have also created a deck of note cards and a deck of flash deck cards, which I have just finished and did just this year. I need help with marketing, mass producing, packaging, etc. And there you have it. So, readings, reports, flash deck, note cards, questions.